The Community Preservation Committee talks changes to the CPC fund. Tom Kerr comments on Exit 1 traffic, and the Economic Development Commission chooses 2 new members for a TIF committee on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, August 28, 2012. I'm Sarah Colvin. According to new legislation, community preservation funds can now be used for a broader range of projects. This week, the Community Preservation Committee met and continued its discussion on CPC funds.
Well, I think we need to talk about the policy around recreation and, whether we have, how we're going to prioritize projects, and whether we, set a cap on number or dollars or something so that we're not inundated with requests without some kind of criteria for what rises to the top. And I, for one, don't want to fund another $60,000 plan that is going to sit on a shelf. So that's my concern with the recreation. And then as far as the housing goes, just because we can now grant a loan to individuals, I think we should, maintain an openness towards programs that serve individuals, but that it has to be a program that's administered by a housing agent or someone that's agency or someone that's familiar with doing it, because I don't think that we are equipped to either do intake on an individual basis, and then there's the question of really procuring for those requests. So I think that we may entertain housing requests for programs to serve individuals, but I don't think we should be in the business of serving individuals, if that makes sense.
Good point. Yep. Anyone else?
I just have a quick question. The new law amended or expanded the word capital improvement. They also expanded their use of the word maintenance. And so these are sometimes gray areas. What's a capital improvement? What's a maintenance area? So I just want the committee to know that I think over the next few requests, we should really kind of narrow that down by asking questions about, is this maintenance, is this capital improvement, those kinds of things like that, so we can establish our criteria over the next few meetings.
Okay. Terry?
I know that as when we initially started looking at policy of what we were going to fund and how we prioritized our any requests that came into us as a committee, that we really did set some criteria on that, on what would be, how we would prioritize those. I think we need to do that with a housing policy. Can we set a policy? Can we vote a policy in that we look at individual requests that come to us must go through an agency? Just like you said, I think that's something that we should adopt as a policy, because I don't think I certainly don't feel qualified to be able to evaluate a request that would come from an individual. So I think we should do that. I think we should prioritize also, as Richard says, we should prioritize whether this request is in sync with what the Recreation Department's priorities are, what the needs of the town are, and also, is there a maintenance component? Because as we've talked about in different committees, there's no way that we want to fund a field or a project and have no long-range plan on how to maintain it and keep it as a valuable asset. If we don't prioritize it at this level, then it's money down the drain again.
Yes, to answer your question, the rules have changed a little bit in the Act. We are still able to set whatever standards we would like. So if we decide A, B, and C, we do not have to fund certain things, as you've mentioned. And the law really just allows us to be a bit more permissive in our deliberation. So it's totally up to us what we want to, have for our basic standards, and then we move forward from there. I don't think you're going to see a major change, in things like maintenance, because we have so many demands for, roofs, out exteriors. Again, I think that's still going to stay that standard. The expansion is groups can come back more than once, which will allow, I think, for phasing on our part, which before we were looking at a one-shot deal. So it's really, we have the opportunity to set the standards, and we can alter them in time as we go forward if we see a need.
The Community Preservation Committee will likely continue that discussion at its next meeting. Traffic at the Sagamore Bridge can at times be troublesome, especially when the Army Corps of Engineers is performing work. Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority Administrator Tom Kerr also serves on the Canal Area Regional Traffic Task Force. He says at the latest meeting, suggestions about closing Exit 1 were discussed.
One is the ramp that goes up by the Christmas tree shop in South Sagamore there. And, all of the Upper Cape folks, particularly North South Sagamore and Sandwich and the town of Bourne have, annually spoke out against any potential closing of that exit. And me being an Upper Cape citizen, I've always supported that position. But, recently I've changed my opinion on that, thinking that it's clear that that's the real choke point on those bad holiday weekends, like Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. On those Mondays, on those three holidays, that traffic trying to merge in by the Christmas tree shop with traffic that's going off Cape, it really slows things up, and it backs it up sometimes to Orleans, or at least 10 or 11 miles. And, I thought that, if we actually did stop the traffic from getting on the Cape, on the bridge there, the traffic, albeit, would be slow going off Cape, but it would be constantly moving, and the queues would not be as far back. So, yes, it would be a little bit of an inconvenience for the people in Bourne that would have to go around or go to the Bourne Bridge or go back to Sandwich. But I'm not saying this should be a permanent solution. I'm saying this should be like a 6 or 8 hour experiment on those three particular days until we are able to move Exit 1 back east more on Route 6, which the Cape Cod Commission is studying. So, I think it's good, and we did have a spirited debate, and it is good to discuss all the potential options, and we'll see where that one goes.
Kerr says the Army Corps plans to continue steel replacement on the bridges this fall, but all that work will be done below the deck, making lane closures unlikely. The Economic Development Committee chooses new members for a TIF committee. Growth Management Director Joanne Miller-Buntich
We've been approached by, I'm going to pass this both ways so everybody has one. We've been approached by Southwind Plaza as they are beginning to do some redevelopment there for a TIF. We had the intake meeting, which was the finance director, the director of assessing, member of the legal team, and myself, just to hear the first pitch, and it's to be ongoing. It's a minuscule commitment on the part of the town. So we got the green light from the manager to go forward. Since the last tax increment financing, which, by the way, is a tool that's sort of fading out all over the country, but at any rate, we have one, and folks are looking to do it. We had two members from this group who are no longer on this group as members of the review committee, and two members of the council, and so we're reconstituting the committee and working with legal. We just need you folks to designate two members from this group to do this work.
The EDC met this morning and selected Jeff Craddock and Janine Marshall to serve. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.